This episode of the Poundcast is in part brought to you by Louisville Vegan Jerky Company. They make Louisville Vegan Jerky. That's right. It's meatless, soy-based jerky, and you can find them at lvjco.com. And they have lots of different flavors you can choose from, such as buffalo hot wing, pepperoni pizza, smoky Carolina barbecue, and they also have limited edition flavors that they come out with every month. And the newest flavor, perfect for the holiday season, is honey glazed ham. Okay? To quote the website, this is a juicy, savory ham flavor topped with a sweet glaze that deliciously balances the saltiness. And get this, 10% of sales of this flavor go to the Dare to Care Food Bank, which has been helping out families in Kentucky for the past 55 years. So if you order on the website and use the code word Poundcast, you get 20% off your order. Now, this stuff is bagged in the United States. It has a shelf life of 9 months, and you don't have to order it online. If you want to order it in person at stores, you can find it at places like Whole Foods and Sprouts. And just check out their website, lvjco.com. Once again, use the code word Poundcast and get 20% off your order. Welcome to the Poundcast. My name is Brent Weinbach, and I'm here with Mike Merrill. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
This is Mike's. Mike has been on the show before. This is your, I guess, second time, right?
Yeah, second time.
And but I think when we did it last time, it wasn't on video, and so now you can see what Mike looks like if you're watching this on video. But if you're listening, it's maybe going to be kind of somewhat similar, but not really. There's a whole different story here, I think, this time, kind of. So Mike is I think of you as a very capable, industrious man. And right now, you're working at...
Yeah. I like to call it the Hamburger restaurant, only because when I started working there, I had to sign a piece of paper that I wouldn't sort of expose the secrets of the Hamburger restaurant. So
okay,
that's how I refer to it.
So do you want that to be bleep when I said that?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, we'll just call it the Hamburger restaurant.
The Hamburger restaurant.
It's a major chain, you know.
Okay, so Mike now works at a very, very major chain of hamburger restaurants.
One of the biggest brands in the world, you could say.
Yeah, one of the biggest, not just food brands, but just one of the biggest brands, period, of history. I mean, just think of the most famous. And can I even describe colors or no?
Sure. I mean, they're all kind of the same.
Hamburgers is
yellow,
generally
yellow,
There's
red.
yellow, or might I even say golden?
Yeah, sort of a golden
It's
color.
sort of a golden color.
A glowing golden hue. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And there's some red in there, you know. There's... Anyway, so I think we know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know how much of the background we want to get into.
Well, okay.
It's a long time ago that I was on, so...
Well, So is this related to you being on the market?
Yeah, in the sense that I got approval from the shareholders to go in this new direction, take this new
Okay,
career
so
path.
that's part of why this okay. So we'll do a quick recap on that, which is Mike. Well, okay, you can listen to the episode for a more detailed breakdown of it, but the short of it is you sell shares of yourself.
Yeah, I have a live market, and I sell shares in myself. Price goes up and down, and then my shareholders vote on my life decisions.
Yeah, and you've been doing that for how long?
Since 2008.
2008, you put yourself on a market that you created? Or
no one else would list me, so I had to do it myself.
Uh-huh. And how many shareholders are there?
Right now, I think there's around 1,200. Might be just over that.
1,200 shareholders. They have a stake in your life.
Yeah, there's about 20,000 shares among all of them. And so obviously the few that have a massive amount of shares, have a lot of sway, and then there's kind of a long tail, a bunch of people.
And
that
you
just have
don't
one
own
or two
any shares.
When I started this project, I didn't really fully understand how markets worked. It was sort of, I just had to kind of figure it out. And so I do have a bunch of shares, but they don't vote until I kind of sell them off. So I sort of have this reserve of shares that I use. Oftentimes I'll use it to pay people. Like I have a friend who helps me on the development of the site, and I just pay him in shares. And
What's the site?
It's kmikeym.com.
Right.
Yeah.
And wait, people can still buy shares.
Oh, yeah.
And people are
Actively
trading. They're actively
all
trading.
the time,
Okay, yeah.
I think it's like around $5.50 a share right now.
$5.50 a share.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how many shares does the biggest owner have of shares?
Well, about a year ago, I had a hostile takeover.
Really?
Yeah, someone came in, they did the math, and they looked at all the previous votes that have ever happened and figured out how many shares they'd have to have swung any one of those votes, and then they bought that many shares. So they're my number one shareholder to this man named Patrick. He sold his company and then came in and just like bought up a massive amount of shares. And so he kind of sits back. He doesn't really vote a lot, but he's always kind of there. I'm always thinking about him being like, well, what would Patrick want me to do? Yeah.
That's interesting. Are you able to, I kind of forgot, it's been a while, but do you make money from that?
When I do
this?
an auction of the shares that I hold out to the market, I make some money.
Yeah.
And then there are some like very small, like kind of trading fee kind of things that happen. But mostly it's just money moving back and forth between the shareholders.
That's so interesting that you have 1,200 shareholders at this point. I mean, how much has that grown since the last time you were on this show?
Yeah, I would say probably. I mean, I'd have to look it up, but let's say 20, 30%. Like, you know, there's been a couple bumps. Every once in a while, something will happen. Kind of a flood of new people. When Patrick came in, he brought a bunch of people with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a bunch of interest in that.
Huh. Okay, so how did the idea or how did the option of you working at McDonald's come up at a board meeting or something?
Yeah,
are there board meetings?
I actually just started a board of directors.
Okay.
I hadn't had one before. Everything was like directly to all of the shareholders. Yeah. But then enough things were happening in my life that had to be private. And I was like, how do I, as a publicly traded person, how do I do private things?
Yeah.
So that was kind of where the board came from, sort of this idea of like, they can represent all of the shareholders, but I can talk to them privately.
So for private things, you talk to the board.
Right. Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's a combination of they're voted in. I get to select a couple of them. It's like a very like.
Now, when it comes to private, what do you mean? Do you mean relationship stuff or family stuff?
Sometimes, like I'll be working on even just a creative project that isn't ready to be released yet.
Yeah.
So it'll be something like that where I'm like, I don't know either. I can't put this up for a vote, but I can talk to the board about it.
Like that other thing we mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So the board knew about that, but then you couldn't tell it to the rest of the shareholders. Okay.
Right. So my current kind of career choice, working at this wonderful golden restaurant.
Did I say it again on accident just now?
We don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at defaulting to just saying the Hamburger restaurant, and my friends make fun of me now because I just refer to it that way all the time.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's something that I signed. It's also on my LinkedIn because it's part of my career choice.
Okay,
so,
you know what? Yeah, so if I say it, no big
fine.
whoop, I guess.
Yeah.
So do we even need to bleep the first one?
Maybe we should just for fun, and then maybe we don't anymore.
And then we don't from moving forward. Okay. Because I forgot, but I'm going to try to say Hamburger restaurant also. Yeah.
It's also kind of funny to say Hamburger restaurant a lot. It's kind of just fun to be like, I work at a Hamburger restaurant.
It definitely kind of sounds elevated.
I added it to my LinkedIn, so it's not hard to find.
Right.
I'm not trying to like hide that I work there.
Right. But you're there. I guess there's certain things you're not allowed to talk about or something.
Well, it's because last year. Well, time is weird because we're at the beginning of the year right now.
Yeah.
So like
2023.
Yeah, 2023. I started a podcast called Hamburger Business Review. Because I have a friend who's deeply fascinated by specifically McDonald's as a restaurant. And what I found was Harvard Business Review has done all of these different case studies about McDonald's. and all the different like marketing and expansion efforts internationally and all these things. So I told my friend Zach, I was like, we should do a podcast where we just review the case studies that Harvard has done. And so that's how we started doing Hamburger Business Review. We did a season of it because I like to have projects that have a beginning and an end. And so we did a season. It's like, I think we did, I can't remember if it was 8 or 10 episodes. And as we started to think about the second season, I was like, well, let's up the stakes. Like, you know, like I'll go learn all about the hamburger restaurant industry and go get a job at a hamburger restaurant.
So the idea to work there at the hamburger restaurant came up as more, I guess, an investigative thing, or what? I mean, it was.
I think there's that's a part of it. There's also, I was applying for jobs in sort of my regular career, you know.
So you were looking for work anyway.
Yeah, and getting nothing back and feeling like super demoralized. Just like, why can't I even get an interview somewhere? Like I'm a relatively talented person.
That's what I said.
With a number of skills.
Industrious guy. Yeah,
and I was getting like not even a rejection from places.
Really?
Just sending in, you know, resume and cover letter over and over and over again.
Where were you applying?
A lot of like tech and marketing companies. I've always been in and around software. I'm not a developer, but I love that world, and have worked in advertising and marketing before and media things. And so I was, you know, it was pretty wide, a lot of just kind of looking around. And yeah, my personal experience was this is proving to be the hardest job search I've ever been on. And in talking to friends, just hearing that over and over again from so many different people.
Okay, so one, you're looking for work anyway, but then you're also thinking, let's up the ante here with this podcast, and I should go in and work there and see what that's like.
Which seems like a crazy idea, which is why I put it to the shareholders. I was like, is this kind of too much? Like, there's like shame around it too.
Well, it's not
right?
that it's
like,
I don't even know if it's shame.
I mean, I feel
that,
it sometimes.
Well,
like,
it's just that you have a degree. I don't know how far your education goes, but I assume that you have at least a bachelor's degree.
I
right?
don't. I have a lot of experience, but I don't have a degree.
You don't have a degree. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, but you are. I don't know. You've been involved with a lot of stuff in the past that is
Former
not that industry.
Founder, worked at a bunch of different companies.
There's not that. I guess I could say fast food industry is not something you've ever worked in before.
I did work there in high school. I worked at McDonald's in high school.
You did?
Yeah, part-time.
Okay.
So I did have a little bit of a history.
There's a little bit of a history. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm learning more, actually, that there's these other factors that I'm trying to think of the shame aspect. No, it's just that I think maybe the pay rate is not what you usually make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Or something, you know? And
but is higher than what I was making not working.
Sure.
You know, and I think for me there's a little bit of just a morale boost of like, okay, just get a job. Just like someone has to, if I can't get that job, that's when I know things are really bad.
I guess I want to say that I don't think there's anything shameful about working at a place like that. I think it's just it's more commonly a place where younger people work.
Right.
I mean, that's not always the case.
Absolutely.
But it does feel like a younger person's job, you know, or even maybe of teenagers even. Or something.
I think there's some class issues too, right? Like
yeah.
When I look at jobs, there's definitely like a feeling I have that I shouldn't be doing an entry-level job about myself that I have.
I guess that's part of it too, is that your age or your experience level, that's an entry-level job, and it's not something. So maybe there's something that, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of I guess shame in that, is why am I doing an entry-level job, but not to make it sound like people who work there are, you know, less than or something like that, you know.
It's some of the most amazing people I've met since I moved to Los Angeles.
There you go.
Like it's like I've never worked in an environment that is so amazingly collaborative and people work together.
Yeah.
Like it moves me.
What is the age range there? Are you the oldest person there?
Definitely not. There's teens, like part-time teenagers in high school, all like past past my age.
Really?
There's
Okay.
there's a guy I really like there that's been there for like 25 years.
Really?
Yeah. And people are telling me like, oh yeah, before this was an office building, there was a theater here, and people used to flood in,
Oh, yeah.
after the movies, and just like so much knowledge about that space.
And you know what? Maybe there's people who work there. I have a cousin who he works at Disneyland, and he's been working there for fun since, I'm trying to remember how long now, but for something like 30 years or something. Maybe around 30 years he's been working there. And he's kept a job there even as a part-time employee because he likes Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has he started working there as a teenager, and then has a regular job during the week, and then on the weekends he works there for fun.
Wow.
And he also, I think there's a certain point where if you work there long enough, you get a lifetime pass or something like that.
Wow,
and
okay.
he's almost there or something
Yep.
like that. So he figured he might as well
golden
finish it out. Yeah. So there is that too, where say the guy who's older there, he's been there for a long. Maybe he just loves he loves the hamburger restaurant.
And there is something too, like you get good at it. It's actually weirdly hard to go in and do. Like I didn't remember that part of it from high school. You go into a hamburger restaurant, there's this incredibly like all the different beeps and machines are screaming at you all the time, and there's just constant activity. Like it's all about efficiency and speed, and you're just kind of thrown in.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of watching everyone move around you like, what's happening? This is absolutely insane. Yeah. And then you start to learn like, oh, that part connects to that part, and they're doing this to help them. And and then pretty soon you're like, oh, I have a break. I'll go check and see how many fries there are because maybe I can go grab some more from the freezer to keep things stocked. Everyone starts like backing everybody up.
Okay, so this thing came up, and then the board voted for it.
Yeah, all the shareholders. It was a shareholder vote. All the shareholders voted for it, and it passed. It was a weirdly contentious vote. Like it brought up a lot of feelings for people.
What feelings?
I think a lot of things we were talking about in terms of
he's better than this. He doesn't need to be working at McDonald's.
Go work somewhere else. Like the ethics
hard to not say the word.
The ethics of working at a major fast food company.
Okay, that too.
There's a lot of things that we explored on the podcast. In terms of environmental and labor issues and supply chain, all these kind of things. And there's a lot there, and everyone has experience with these restaurants and this restaurant in particular. Like. Most people have a pretty strong opinion about it, and it's been in the news a lot recently. There's been a lot of like, it's almost become a political issue for a while. Like it's been a strange time to be this close to it.
Yeah, but so what percentage was yes?
I want to say no, it wasn't really. I mean, it ended up being like I want to say it was like 67% passed or something like that, which is a pretty good margin. Yeah.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, what did your significant other think?
Totally for it.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I have been, essentially supported by her. Like I've had jobs for a while and been kind of up and down career-wise, which is why I was kind of in this state of really needing something.
Yeah.
And I think for her, she just saw it as like movement and in the direction of just like working and getting a job and doing something. And she's a TV writer, so it hasn't been great for her the past couple of years either.
Sure, yeah,
so, yeah, just to be able to like steadily contribute instead of these kind of weird
Has she been
ups
interested
and
in
downs.
working there too?
We joke about it sometimes just because it's gotten to the point where it's just like, okay, something needs to happen financially.
What what'd be interesting is if people who, I don't know, work in, not usually that field, maybe they work in the arts or something like that, and they just started becoming this weird, that maybe the specific location was a place where, all these artists and,
like
people,
instead of being like waiters or something, it's sort of the classic actor thing, right?
Something
Everyone
like that. It'd be
LA.
kind of interesting if it just became this place where, I don't know, it wasn't just,
Yeah, it's pretty physically exhausting. Like,
I bet.
My normal job there is just to work the drive-thru.
Well, that's what I was curious is so what is the application process like? What do? You walked into a location?
It's all online. It's so weird. I took a psychological profile.
Really?
Yeah, and it's all these insane graphics of blue-skinned people working at a hamburger restaurant and then setting up these scenarios that aren't quite clear what the right answer is. And then they give you like a full personality profile at the end, which I assume they also send to your manager or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was like crickets after that, nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't go super deep on my application because I didn't want to. I thought that if I was like, oh, I've done this, that I wouldn't get the job. Like maybe they want people that are a little, not, I don't know, like
too set in their ways, maybe, or too set in
exactly. Or I'm going to come in and change things, or have a big head about it or whatever. And like, I wanted to go and be relatively humble. I also, knowing I was doing the podcast, I applied and have been using my first name, which is Ken, instead of Mike.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was
yeah, that's where K Mikey M comes from.
That makes sense now. Yeah.
So at the hamburger restaurant, everyone refers to me as Ken because I want them to Google and be like, oh, he does this project, he's doing these things.
Right.
Like, I want to be respectful of them also, and I don't try not to tell any tales of them or anything like that as well.
Right.
So to keep those things separate a little bit, but.
So, okay, so you heard back at one point.
Yeah.
What, they emailed you?
Yeah, I get an email, and it's a in-person interview, and I go in, standard fast
Did you
food.
get to pick what location it was?
Yeah, I did pick location.
You pick one near you, I take it.
Yeah, I was walking. We had the dog at the vet, and Catherine had some errand that she was doing and couldn't come pick me up, so I had to walk home. It was like a pretty far walk, basically from like the top of Glendale to the bottom. Like I live in Atwater, so it's a walk kind of through the glory of Glendale. And I walked by this one McDonald's that was in an office building, like as opposed to a standalone location. Okay. It was like built into it, and just my own sort of business brain kind of appreciated the melding of those two things. And I was like, oh, I like this McDonald's. And I thought that the main entrance was through the lobby, but it turns out it's not. It's through a different, just regular outside door. But I had this idea of like, if I do this, it will be that one. And then when it came time, that was the one I applied to.
Okay, so you go in and you meet the manager?
Yeah, well, at first I just meet, there's just essentially like a teenager, at the front. And I was, as I've seen this now from the other side where I'm the person at the front. Someone comes in and they don't know what to do or who to talk to.
Oh, you've seen that?
Yeah. For the interview, because it's not clear. You go up and you're like, I'm here for an interview with someone. I mean, I don't know if what
did you wear for the interview?
I wore jeans and a short sleeve button up shirt.
Okay.
Because I was like, I want to be like, again, nice, but you don't want to go like suit and tie, obviously.
Well, that would be kind of interesting and funny if you did. But
that was the thing too.
Because you have a kind of a very professional look,
Yeah. It's. I do get asked if I'm a manager a lot. Silver hair and
sure.
I also think that I go in, I operate with a certain amount of confidence compared to a teenager, and so I don't mind. Yeah, so I think I come off a little bit more managerial, but
sure. So
definitely don't have the skills to be a manager. There's a lot to know.
Well, so you come in, and there's a teenager there that's working there.
Yeah,
and you say, "Hey, I'm here for the interview."
And
did they say anything to a degree of you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
It was just in my head I was just like, this feels like a place I don't belong. Kind of, and he goes back, gets the general manager, and she's in charge of like the entire restaurant, who comes out, and we sit down for an interview, and it's a very like everything as a major franchised restaurant operation is all very by the book. So it's like all the questions are predetermined. She's just asking them
and how old is
off
she?
Of a list. She must be in her late 40s, 50s, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Clearly like been there a long time.
She works there.
Well, I've learned later that she worked at a different location before, and I think she's been in the business for a really long time. Yeah,
and she had no questions about. So what? Why? I mean, did she ask actually? Why do you want to work here?
Yeah, and I told her, I was like, I've had these jobs that are kind of off and on, and they just disappear, and I'm just looking for like steady work where I can kind of go in and do the job and then leave and be done, kind of thing. Like I don't want to. I like the idea, and this is true. Of just you clock in, you do the work, you clock out, you don't think about it anymore.
Yeah,
it's done. And that's kind of satisfying.
Can I ask how much it pays?
Yeah, $20 an hour. California passed a law that for fast food, if you have over a certain number of locations, it's a minimum wage of $20 an hour, which is, fine.
Yeah. And you work how much a day?
I'm working like 6 or 7 hours, depending on the day. Yeah.
And how many days a day?
I was 5, and I recently cut down to 4.
Okay.
Just because I have some other things going on.
Yeah.
But.
And they let you do that. They're cool with that.
Yeah, it was surprisingly easy. There's
Yeah.
a terrible app that they use for scheduling called Life Lens. It's just like a third-party app, and it's one of the worst app interactions that I've ever used. But it is compliant with like all the California labor laws, and I'm sure it does a bunch of stuff that's invisible to me as a user.
Did she ask, or has anyone asked about your other aspirations and things like that? I mean, have you...
There was a question about like how long do you think you'll be
Yeah.
here, and that made me a little nervous because
How did you answer that?
I said I hadn't really thought about it, but I'm not looking for anything else right now. You know, I'm not like I want to work and have a job, and that was a satisfactory answer.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Has anyone asked you that since? Say the current manager?
There was one guy asked me if I'd ever thought about working at Trader Joe's. And I was like, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I hadn't thought about it. And apparently, like, a customer had tried to recruit him to Trader Joe's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is pretty funny.
How much does that pay? Do you know?
I don't know. I know that the managers there can make a lot because there's some kind of profit sharing, but I don't know how much just a regular employee makes.
So, okay, you you get the job, I guess.
Yeah, which was, a whole nother level of nervous is this location's open 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, I don't know. I'm the new person. Like,
Yeah.
How am I not going to end up on the night shift?
Right, the graveyard
And-
shift.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this is going to be so weird. So I went in there was like an orientation run by a different manager of a different store, who, I guess that all the recruits kind of come in together into this like conference room, and they run you through a bunch of stuff. And that's like your first day of work. Like it's, you get paid for it. And then you go in to your store and you're just in the break room watching videos on an iPad for like 4 days. 4
Really?
days of video training. And
Really?
it is brutal.
Really? Is it boring?
It's so boring.
Uh-huh.
And it's like ongoing, just like session after session.
What do they have? Is Ronald McDonald in these videos? Is he is he narrating it, with a clown voice? And
There's some like skits and actors kind of like playing out scenarios in different things of like, a customer getting angry or coworkers being abusive to one another.
So there's classic industrial videos.
Yeah, but for the modern era, which is also a very different feeling.
What does that mean? Like there's stuff about just political correctness kind of stuff in
There's
there?
some of that, but it feels way more. It's just as cringy, but it's way more professional. It's not as fun as a traditional industrial training video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's not any of the characters from.
Nothing. Yeah.
They're not in there. They're not spicing it up a little bit.
There's been
Birdie.
There's been a big like not erasure, but like they've really like moved away from a lot of the mascot characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Over there, if you go into any kind of major hamburger restaurant where I work, you won't see any, characters anymore.
Really?
Yeah. And sometimes they're still using them in a lot of the marketing and television advertising and things like that, but they don't do hardly any of that in the stores anymore.
Huh.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
There was a push at one point to make everything feel a lot more standardized and sort of like a very weird, bland airport restaurant, and it's kind of depressing.
Yeah. Okay, so when you actually start working there, you go in your first actual kind of real day of working the restaurant. Did you feel kind of like first day of school kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I mean, first of all, I'm using a different name.
Yeah.
Which is so hard. I'd be the worst undercover agent.
Yeah.
Now,
were you not responding to Ken a lot of times?
A lot
They'd
of
say
times.
Ken, and you wouldn't think
it'd
they
take
were
like
talking to
3
you?
times. I'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
So that was awkward. I've gotten better at that. Now it's actually the other way.
Did you ever do this? Hi, I'm Ken.
Yes.
You've done that. Okay.
I've done that. The first person I met, I introduced myself as Mike, and then later he was like, Mike, right? I was like, no, Ken. And then I felt bad because I was like, I'm gaslighting him basically.
Oh gosh,
like,
that's funny.
He remembered.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, now I'm fully Ken, and every once in a while I'll get like overwhelmed or a lot of things will be going on, or like a customer will be saying something and introduce themselves to me and I'll slip and say Mike.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then the reverse happened the other day. I went to a party with a bunch of people and meeting new people I didn't know, and I paused and almost said Ken instead of Mike.
Oh, that's
because
funny.
I got so used to introducing myself. Yeah.
So you have a name tag. It says Ken too.
Yeah, it says Kenneth.
Oh, it says Kenneth. Wow, that's
full.
really.
Yeah. I don't know why. I keep saying Ken, but somehow Kenneth got locked in, and it's fully.
So
Kenneth.
your first day, kind of there, you're meeting all the other employees.
No, that's the weird thing about fast food is like.
Oh, what shift was it?
So I go in for training, and it was like 2 to 4, or like basically these 2-hour blocks. A couple of them were a little bit longer.
Sorry. Also, what about the outfit?
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So I go through all the training. Then I get it's jeans. It's this like short sleeve synthetic, almost like it has a little zip up here, and it kind of feels a little bit like Star Trek. Because there's different colored shirts for different jobs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there's the maintenance people have these like dark blue shirts with reflective stripes on them. And then I wear a gray shirt, and then there's yellow shirts, which are like trainers. And then there's the blue shirt, which is managers.
Yeah.
And then there's also 2 different color hats. And for the longest time, I was like, I don't know what the difference is between the red hats and the blue hats.
Yeah.
I got a blue hat. I was like, who are these red hat people? And I realized after a while, oh, they're the people that are under 18.
Oh.
And there's limitations on what they can do by law.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so that's one way that they used. And I was like, oh, so those are all the high schoolers.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, yeah.
So I eventually figured that out. But yeah, first day of like actual work, which is still training, was drive-thru. Somebody's working, and I'm just like watching this person take orders and just go nuts on 2 computer screens.
Yeah.
There's one for taking orders and then one's for doing cash. And this person is having conversations through the headset, taking orders, while there's a little off on. He'll pause and then talk to the person at the drive-thru and deal with the money, and then turn on and he's having 2 conversations at once.
Wait, what's the other conversation with? There's one at the drive-thru, the other one's where?
At the window.
Oh, at the window.
At the window
got
paying, which is usually just swiping a credit card these days, but every once in a while it's cash, or some other larger problem. And so he's constantly just like shifting focus.
Didn't they used to have it where, there's one person taking the order, then another person that you pay, and then another person that gives you the food?
Yeah.
There used to be 3 stops.
And when it gets busy, they'll do that.
Okay.
But usually it's just one person at that station.
Yeah.
So the whole time I was training, I was just doing either taking the orders or, money, and confirming the orders over there. But learning that system, which is one of the worst computer systems I've ever used, it's a slow touch screen that you're just kind of constantly trying to learn. Like when someone says their order, everyone says it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to learn all the different things, and then there's all the discount code. It's just there's so much kind of institutional knowledge, people being like asking for things that don't exist but they used to exist, and I don't know that, like the customers know more than I do. Like I'll be like, oh, we don't have that, and they're like, yeah, you do. And then I'll find it and be like, oh yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah. Are there secret things on the menu?
Not like secret things, but there's like unknown things. Like the fish sandwich, you can get it with 2 patties.
The fish fillet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not allowed to say.
It's a fish sandwich, yeah. But it's much like, I mean, again, it's not really a secret, but it's, But there's a button for doing it with 2 of the fish patties.
Okay. Like
that's a approved sandwich.
Now, your first position there, or maybe your only position there, is working the drive-thru?
Yeah, so
that's it. So you don't do the counter.
I've done drive-thru, eventually front counter, and then some guest services, which is like out on the floor in the dining area.
Oh, what's that about?
Just like we do table service.
You do?
Yeah, because so many people get bunched up waiting for their orders.
Yeah.
That we'll just give them a number and be like, we'll take it out to you.
Oh, yeah. Is there tipping?
No, not allowed to take tips.
Right.
Yeah, everything just, if someone really insists or whatever, we just give it to the charity that's associated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just slides in there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Has people done that?
People have, which is really nice.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you've done the table service stuff or whatever, guest services.
Yeah,
you have worked the counter a little bit.
I have worked the counter, and I've done a little bit of the presenting.
What do you like when you're at the counter? Do you say, "Welcome to McDonald's. I'm Kenneth. How can I help you?" I mean, how do you do it?
It's funny because they're really pushing. If you've been to any of the major franchises, everyone's got the giant kiosks now. They really want you to go either use your phone to make your order,
Right.
or go to the kiosk and enter it in.
Yeah.
They don't really want you to come to the counter.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of, we don't stand like behind the register. We stand like in front of the register to kind of help direct people.
Oh, is that right?
Mostly to the kiosk.
Oh, so
yeah.
that's what you do.
Yeah, and then if they have
But do you
cash
still
or
do you say welcome?
Yeah, but it's
Do you-
less.
And what are you doing? Do you have to smile?
I mean, I'm pretty friendly and proactive, maybe more so than some of the
other employees. Do you smile?
There's like a mix of employees. I call them the pros and the teens, but some of the teens are pros and some of the pros, or some of the people that aren't teens, kind of act like teens. It's just the people that take it really seriously and are really good at what they're doing, and then the people that are kind of like goofing off and maybe having fun a little bit.
Okay, so are you smiling?
Yeah, I'm smiling almost all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Can I just experience what it's like if you're there at the counter?
yeah.
And I walked in.
Hey, what can I get you?
Oh, just like that.
I'll go real folksy. Yeah.
But you don't say welcome
On the drive-thru, I do. I mean, again, I'll say, welcome to McDonald's. Are you using the mobile app today? And I'm holding my thing because it's usually really loud. My
Yeah.
speaker's on this ear, and often I'll close my ear on this side so I can hear.
By the way, the thing that you're using a headset?
Yeah, it's got 2 buttons on it. Well, it's got a couple buttons on it, but it's one button for each one of the different drive-thru locations. So I'm usually working one drive-thru station, but I can switch to the other one. And then there's an intercom between all the people.
How are those cleaned?
They're probably not cleaned as often as they should be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's a lot of sharing.
Yeah. So you see wax and stuff on them?
No, they're like very like outside the ear. They're not even like cupped. It's just like kind of a foam.
Oh, it's
thing
one of those.
that's on-
Foam, oh, it's a
yeah. So
kind
the
of
foam
a
things come
classic
off.
Walkman style.
Exactly.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep. And those things do come off and get cleaned. I don't know.
Do you ever bring your own wipes? Do you care? You don't care.
I don't care too much.
Yeah.
I wash my hands a lot, especially someone will hand you like a bunch of change and it's hot from being in their hand.
Yeah.
And then
or you ever
just
get the kind of wet cash?
I have gotten wet cash before.
I used to deliver pizzas. Yeah, certain places, you get that wet cash. And it smells like urine.
I got like wet 20s once.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, you just have a bunch of big bills wet?
Yeah, I experienced. I mean, I don't know if they weren't 20s, but when I was delivering pizzas, yeah, I remember smelling urine and touching wet money.
I've never smelled urine.
Yeah,
knock on wood. But I've definitely, that hot change is the worst for me.
That's similar, yeah.
Yeah, because you dump that in.
It just feels like it's been in the crevices of their body, maybe.
Change is gross.
Yeah.
Like metal money. Like, I feel like it's moving around the world in a way that is accumulating a lot of gross energy.
You deal with a lot of money, yeah?
Yeah. It's, like I said, mostly credit cards.
Oh, it is mostly credit cards.
At this point, mostly credit cards, but enough that it's regular. There's, and, there's the little machine for checking for hundreds and fifties to see
after you handle money, do you wash your hands after every exchange?
Not every exchange. There's no time. Yeah. But if there's like if there's a break, thankfully the sink is like right by my station, so I can wash pretty often.
Do you mess up ever?
Yes.
And what are some examples of that?
I mean, hearing the wrong thing is probably the hardest.
Yeah.
Because the audio is really bad. Especially when I started, it felt like a different language. Like I couldn't understand anything through the headset.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying the same thing, so you learn that eventually. But accents are really hard.
Yeah.
I don't speak Spanish, and some people come through and speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So I'll go grab somebody to come and speak Spanish. I had a really embarrassing moment where I went to someone and said like, "Oh, hey, can you take a Spanish order?" And they didn't speak Spanish, and then I felt like I was being like racist, and then I felt really bad about it. They didn't seem to care. Yeah, and then also people come through.
Did you say to them, "Hey, do you know Spanish?" Or did you say, "Hey, can you take this order?"
I was like, "Can you take a Spanish order?" Yeah,
oh, okay.
And then,
So you maybe you would have rather have said, "Oh, hey, do you speak Spanish by any chance?"
But there's I feel like the way I said it wasn't so. It was like presumptuous, but also there's plenty of people there that don't like look Hispanic and also speak Spanish.
Yeah.
It was a fair question to ask, but I knew I was making the assumption, and so I felt a little bit bad about it.
Maybe you should have just said, "Hey, this order's for you over here."
Yeah,
just make it even worse.
And, just double down.
Get it. Yeah,
down.
just
Can you do it
own
anyway? Yeah. I'm not going to do it, but I've gotten a little bit better. I'll try to push it, even though I don't speak Spanish. I'll try to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all numbers. Usually everything's numbered.
Yeah.
It's only if they're trying to customize something. That
Right.
it's really
Okay, so they usually will just order one of those preset meals. That's a number. Yeah. Okay, so you've messed up. You've gotten.
Yeah, I've screwed up and like I'll hand someone their change and realize I was so focused on the fact that they gave me like a big bill and counting the big bills because we stash all the big bills under that I totally forgot the ones. So I shorted them like $3.
Oh wow!
And then they notice, and I have to go get a manager who comes and opens the register. I can't open the register. A manager has to do it. Yeah, there's all these kind of weird things that I can't do that I assume are related to some kind of security policy, but actually just get in the way of doing. Are
you? Do you ever get yelled at by either customers or managers?
No, I mean customers sometimes, and I kind of enjoy it because I've worked call centers and stuff before, so I don't get frustrated by that, and I've seen other people get really frustrated by it, and I'm pretty good at it.
What is people have yelled at you about?
A lot of like. Usually it'll start with like there was a mistake in the past, and they're kind of angling for free food, and I don't actually have the power to do that, much less an ability via the system that I'm using. And so I'll just express like, oh, I'm really sorry that happened. Like sometimes it gets busy, mistakes happen. I'll try to like understand and then just move them along because it's all about speed and efficiency. And then it'll get to the point they'll just flat out ask, can I have something? And I'm just like, no, I'm sorry. I can't do that. But, I can, if you want something else, I can add it to the order. And then it'll be like escalate. And pretty soon they just say, I want to speak to your manager. At which one I'm like, great, I have one of those. I'll go get them, know? And if it's busy, a lot of times the manager will just comp the food. Who cares? Move along. But then sometimes it's like so obvious that the person's trying to manipulate the system that they'll say, sorry. And then there was one time a guy came in and was like yelling and like nearly violent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was he yelling about?
He got an order like the previous day and, said it was gross, but it was very unspecific. And then was trying to say that this other manager had said that he could get free food, but that manager was actually there that day. So then he came out and then they started getting into it and it kept escalating. And it was very much like, two men just standing very close to one another.
Is that a thing that happens? Do you ever get people coming in that are maybe mentally unstable or maybe some people who are maybe on the street and they come in and they're maybe a little wild or something like that?
Yeah, there's I wouldn't say a lot, but I think there's a fair amount. Like it's a community space, and most of the managers, especially the ones that have been there a while, they know the names of most of those people.
Yeah.
And it's like, if they're behaving, it's totally fine. There was one of the managers who was interviewing somebody, and I was out on the floor just like cleaning tables kind of, over here. And one of the people that's in and out a lot and has been told like not to like ask for change from anybody, because that's not a nice experience when you're in a restaurant. He was going through the trash. And the manager was just like, I can't remember what his name was just like said his name, was like, hey, we don't do, and he was like, sorry, like it's done. It's like there's a little bit of that like, oh, we can't let this happen, but it wasn't like get out, you never come back. It was more just like, hey, we've warned you, don't do that. It's pretty nice, actually. It's pretty humane.
Yeah.
And the people that come in, there was one guy that was just a real weird sense of personal space. Like there's a little opening to go into the back and near the front counter, and he just kind of kept edging closer and closer to it. And I was like, there was just like a spidey sense that I had. So I just kind of went up and blocked the path and stood there, and then he started chatting with me and he was fine. He was like a little bit nerdy, a little bit, just socially awkward, but just too close to everyone. And after he left, one of the managers was like, watch out for that guy. He's handsy, and he's been handsy with some of the some of the women that work
Oh,
here.
is that right?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I sensed something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. But yeah, so there's that exists for sure.
How long did it take for you to get used to taking the orders and then talking to the other person, doing the whole drive-thru thing?
Probably like 2 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now you're good at it.
I'm pretty good at it.
How long
like
have you
it
been
now.
there now?
It's been about 4 now.
4 months. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're good.
I like it.
Really? You like it?
It's like the world's most boring air traffic controller, is how I like to imagine it. And it's so much like playing a video game.
Really?
Because there's just a stack of these orders. They're coming through with these variations, and it's how fast can I do it while still being nice to them? And then, you have to deal with these people as well as this, so it gets kind of complicated, and it just becomes this game of moving them through. And then as you start to learn the other systems in the restaurant, you're also being like, asking them ahead of time, hey, do you need any ketchup or condiments? Because then you don't have to ask when you get up there, and that speeds things up. Or, there's all these other little things that you kind of learn how to do.
Would you say, so it's a high-pressure job?
Yeah, weirdly. Yeah. One of my favorite coworkers is this, I think he's like a high school athlete, and he's so energetic. He knows way more about all the way everything works. He does this job called runner a lot, which is like taking the food as it comes out of the kitchen and bringing it to the window, which is like making sure everything is in the bag, double checking everything against the order. And that's kind of like one of the most high pressure jobs, because you don't want to screw up the order. That's when people get mad and they yell at you. But he was working drive-thru. He relieved me for like my half-hour lunch, and it was like a pretty crazy day. And at some point, someone must have relieved him, because he came into the break room and he was just like, he just had gotten overwhelmed.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like, you could see he was stressed about
Really?
it. Like people were like yelling at him.
Wow.
And I felt bad, because I was just like, that's hard to deal with. And, I've had a lot of life experience of being yelled at in different ways. He hasn't, and yeah, it was interesting to see. It's interesting to see it affect people in different ways.
So there is a break room.
Yeah, there's a small little break room in the back.
What's that like?
It's funny, they decorate it for like every holiday season, but in a way that is really inconvenient for it being used as a break room. For Christmas, they had a giant, like one of those yard inflatable.
Thanks.
They had like an inflatable snowman in there, like that took up like a whole seating area. And it's already hard to find a place to sit.
Yeah.
Someone's usually in there training on one of those iPads. And yeah, it's messy a lot because people are just in and out so fast, which infuriates me. I'm just like, why can't we keep our own area clean?
I take it you eat there for free.
I do, but I bring my lunch every day. Yeah.
Okay. So you actually had offered to bring a flight or something like that.
I get a discount. I get half off at that restaurant, 30% off at any other location.
Oh, really?
And then on shift I eat for free.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then do you have you become good friends with any of these people? It's only been 4 months, but have you become friends with them? Have you hung out with anybody?
I haven't hung out with anyone after work.
Yeah.
There's one young guy that I really like who started doing like jiu-jitsu and had like his first tournament, and then he was like, we were on the drive-thru together, and he was showing me his tournament, and I was just like, oh yeah, like I would go and watch.
Okay, but you didn't.
But I haven't done it yet.
You maybe went to the tournament.
Yeah.
Has anybody, customers or employees, ever said to you, "You don't seem like you would work here"?
I had a like family come in, like a man and his father, and then his kid. So like 3 generations. I think they were. Where were they from? I don't know. They were like. The old man, he wasn't that old. He's probably in his like 60s or whatever. But he's a real cut up. He was like making a lot of jokes. This was at the front counter.
Okay.
And so I started like joking with him back.
Yeah.
And he was like, he asked for a senior coffee, which is the small coffee with a discount. And I was like, sorry, I can't give you the senior coffee unless you show me your ID. And he started to get, and then he realized I was joking, and he really liked me. And then he leans in and he goes, why are you working here? And I was like, what do you mean? It's a job. And then, so again, in kind of jest, I was like, what, you got a job for me? I'll come work for you. And then he got me to give my number to his son and so was like, oh yeah, we should talk to this guy.
Wait, he got you
to give my contact information to his son for whatever their family business was.
How old was the son?
I
in
mean,
his 20s?
like my age.
Okay, got it.
In his like 30s or 40s
Okay,
or something. Yeah. So I was like, what? I was like, am I about to get like recruited into some, some family business? Had a very brief text exchange and then nothing came of it. So
really?
I don't know what it was. But
That's interesting.
But it'd be pretty fun to get recruited off the line. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. It only happened once.
As far as like that blatant, like I said, a lot of times what I'll get is
they think you're the manager.
They really like my voice through the drive-thru because I really enunciate and I'm doing a little bit of a performance when I do it.
You're doing a performance.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because it's like I'm really like engaging with it. A lot of the people there, and especially like young men working drive-thru, it's welcome to Hamburger. Can I take your order? Or they just straight to the section about the app, like, are you using the mobile app? Are you using the mobile app? Whereas I'm like, welcome to McDonald's. Are you using the? I'll try to make. Do you
think of it like you're at Disneyland or something?
A little bit. I try to make it human each time. So I'm like, are you using the mobile app today? I'll like slow down. I really think about like where it is.
Really?
And then based on their response, I'll calibrate as well. Like if it's a deep, heavy dude's voice, I'll kind of match that energy.
Really?
Yeah, and if it's like an older lady, I'll be a little bit like.
Let's try it out. Let's try it. Okay, so I'm coming in.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to McDonald's. Are you using the mobile app today?
No, I'm not using the mobile app. No.
Oh, no, that's no problem. What can I get for you?
I want some French fried potatoes.
Yeah, what size was that?
Large.
Got it. Anything else?
That's about it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see you up at the first window.
Okay. Yeah, I'd not have done that.
But, okay, that seemed kind of normal what you did.
But now I'll do it like...
Okay, let's try another one.
Yeah, I'll do it the way that like some of my less involved coworkers do.
Same guy. Because I was going to change voice and see how you change.
You can change too.
Okay, I'll change. I want to see how you have adjusted that, okay?
Are you using the mobile app today?
No, I'm not using it. What? No, I don't know what that is.
What can I get for you?
Wait, who's that?
What can I get for you?
Oh, I want can I get a Big Mac?
Got it, one Big Mac. Anything else?
Honey? No, that's it.
All right, first window.
Okay, that was who?
That's just like the dead flat guy.
But okay, how would you have taken on this guy? That when I just did?
A lot of times on those pauses, I'll ask if they need any help. Like, do you have any questions about the menu?
Here's what I want to know.
Or sometimes so it's hard because we don't have like the menu in front of us, but people will start ordering something and I'll be like, hey, if you change that to this, there's a deal on that.
Oh, yeah.
Or, if you order the pie,
yeah.
It's actually 2 of those for only like 30 cents more.
They don't know. They don't, other people don't suggest those deals.
Exactly.
But okay, I guess what I mean is you say you try to match their energy. So
I see what you're saying.
When the Sling Blade guy was first,
right.
Your energy was whatever that was. Then okay, this other guy who's how do you change? How do you adjust to that? You said you try to match them.
Yeah, and not like
so you're saying this
not head to head, but like complementary, right?
Oh, okay,
so if someone comes in and they're really confused, I'll be a little like, no problem, no rush, right? Sometimes people come in and be like, I want this, and I'm like, got it, go ahead, go. I won't even ask if they want anything else because it's clear, right?
Right.
And then next person will be like, I don't know. I'm like, hey, it's fine, take your time. I'll be fast with the fast people, slow with the slow people.
Let me try you on this one. Okay, see how you handle this one, okay? Go ahead, welcome me.
Welcome to McDonald's. Are you using the mobile app today?
Nope.
No problem. What can I get you? This happens.
Quarter pounder.
Got it? You want the meal with that or just the sandwich?
Small fry.
Got it?
Orange.
Orange juice or
orange
Fanta?
Drink.
High C?
Drink.
Do you want the carbonated or the non-carbonated?
Drink.
Got it. High C. And then anything else?
I'm out.
Got it. See you at the first window.
So you're just going...
I'll make an assumption after a while.
That
right?
what?
It's like orange drink. There's orange juice, there's Fanta orange, and there's High C.
Yeah.
So he didn't say, but I'm just going to ring it up as a medium, and maybe I'll check with him when he comes up to the window.
Oh, that's... Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because sometimes it's like... I don't want to overwhelm people either. Like, if you haven't been to McDonald's, which has also happened, people will come up literally having never been to a hamburger restaurant before.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's always and I can see them through the little monitor because we have a little camera that looks
Really?
out on the drive-thru, and they're just like watching the screens
Never
go through.
been
They
there
have no
before.
idea. Yeah.
Man, how many people do you meet a day?
I mean,
Hundreds.
hundreds.
Yeah. Wow.
A lot of regulars come through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They seem to recognize you,
Yeah,
and they say, "Oh,
it's super
hey, Ken.
friendly now."
Hey,
Yeah.
Kenneth. Oh, really?
Not so much names, but there's definitely
How
like,
you doing today?
Yeah.
Yeah?
There's this one woman who everyone knows her name because she has a super particular order. And it's like eggs. She wants scrambled egg. No, she wants a folded egg, well done special request.
Oh.
She's learned our language of how to type it in.
Oh yeah.
Because she wants it well done but not brown.
Yeah.
And and so when you put that order in, everyone in the back knows exactly who it is
Oh,
and
yeah.
what the order is. Yeah, with 2 sweet teas and yeah.
All right. I have a lot more questions,
I know,
but I'm
we could
thinking
keep
maybe this is what I want to talk about. We'll move into the unzipped, and what I want to ask about is maybe some more of the people who you work with, maybe, and then also maybe some of the regular customers, and maybe some of the house favorites, or some of the people don't love to deal with as much, or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe there's
absolutely.
regulars in that way too. And I'm also kind of curious about if there is any opportunity or room for you to move up in the company. We'll talk about that when we go into Unzipped. If you want to join us for the Unzipped, go to you can go to patreon.com/Poundcast, and you get extended versions of the episodes, and sometimes other little things here and there, but that's the main gist of it. There's also the episodes come out a couple days early. That's nice if you're itching for an episode. You don't want to wait till Friday. Get it on Wednesday. Also, if you want to watch the show video, youtube.com/thepoundcast. Okay? There's an Instagram account. It's @thepoundcast. And I think that's it. I want to give a thank you to Aaron Bruntgart behind the boards, and a thank you to Jack Birch, also behind the other boards, the digital boards. I mean, even though I think those boards are kind of digital too anyway these days, the ones that Aaron does too. But anyway, thank you to you both. Thank you to All Things Comedy, and also big thank you to Mike Merrill for joining me. Now, is there anywhere? What do you want people to check out? What's going on?
I mean, the main thing based on this conversation,
It doesn't need to be even, but whatever.
hamburgerbusinessreview.com.
Oh, that's the podcast.
Yeah, we're going deep into that world.
Yeah.
We're still doing some case studies, but we're also having some guests on, and and we're just diving deep into the world of. We have a theory that there's nothing in the world that McDonald's doesn't touch, and so the podcast kind of explores every aspect of the world through
Interesting.
hamburgers. Yeah,
So once again, it is what?
hamburgerbusinessreview.com.
hamburgerbusinessreview.com, and that you can find it all there.
It's all there.
Great. Thanks for sharing so far, and then we'll get into it more. And I'm also curious about how long you see yourself doing this for, too.
That's a great question. I'll answer that.
Okay,
on
we'll get that. We'll get into that. Thanks again to Mike Merrill. I'm Brent Weinbach. We'll see you next week, and or we'll see you. We'll continue to see you in this Unzipped. So see you there, or so long for now. Bye bye.